What's up, podcast? Welcome to episode 18. Thank you so much for checking this out. I hope everyone is staying safe. I hope everyone's staying healthy. We are now like 2 days away from an election, so it is a stressful time. It's a really exciting time. I hope you have taken the time to vote. I hope you have taken some time for yourself and your mental health, because we all know that, yes, there's a lot going on and we're focused on what we're doing, but, you know, the external forces of everything that's going on around you kind of sink in a little bit. At least for me, it kind of sunk in unexpectedly, and so, you know, realizing to take some time for myself, whether it's to work out or just to kind of relax and zone out just a little bit, is okay. So I hope everyone is doing well and is staying safe. This episode is just a little something because of this thing that came up for me and this topic that has arisen for me within, the past week. I've been thinking about this a lot for a really long time, and I've kind of touched upon it in other episodes, but as of late, it's gotten me all riled up again. And so it's something I really want to talk about and something I feel passionately about. And it kind of has to do, there's no like real theme that kind of draws the umbrella for this, but the overarching, I guess, idea is, record labels, I guess, and musicians that have quote unquote made it, and your relationship with those things. So, and I mean this from the independent artist side, because I've gotten the opportunity to work with record labels before and put music out with labels. As even my last release was with a great label. But it seems as though those very, very large labels, for instance, Sony, Atlantic, any of those really big name labels, it seems almost out of reach for a lot of independent artists. And that's not to say that it is, but there's a feeling, when you're hustling, when you're doing your thing, like, okay, how do I get there? How do I put my music out with these people? How do I get noticed by these people? And today, it's like not even relevant. Like, how sad is that? Like, at that point, and this is all my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt, it's not even freaking relevant. Like, back in the day, quote unquote, back in the day, that used to be the pinnacle. I got signed by this major, and this is awesome, and now I'm going to be a rock star, right? And now with social media, with everyone having a recording studio in their own home, starting with like GarageBand and Fruity Loops and Logic Pro and Pro Tools, everyone has the ability to put their stuff out on social media where you get the highest exposure, especially in these pandemic times where everyone is just glued to their phone or watching TV. And TikTok has made it to the mainstream television. It's on ABC, it's on Good Morning America, it's on all these things. There's even platforms for social media on mainstream television news networks. So it's almost I don't know. It almost devalues the labels. And what really frustrates me is that a lot of labels, especially these really big labels, in my eyes, in my opinion, when you are to get signed to one of these labels because you are talented and they see the talent and they want to invest the talent, they want to invest in your talent, then you grow the audience, you grow the social media, you grow the notoriety, they put you in magazines, they do this, they give you PR, they do that. And you come well equipped. You have people that like you, of course, but maybe you don't have that gigantic social media following or that gigantic name. But now in 2020, you literally need to have fucking everything for these labels to see you as a positive investment, as a good investment. You need to already come with these things? Because I know this, because I was very frustrated. I, as many of you know, have been writing music for TV, writing music for films during this pandemic. I'm very fortunate that I have gotten these opportunities to do so, as well as working on my own stuff, putting out my own music. Just finished that single that I'm telling you about on every podcast. That one's done. But I've been doing all that, and one of these directors says, "Hey, can you send this your resume or whatever it was? I think it was like a work sample to my media email, just so I can have it on there, and we'll set something up." So, of course, I write out this whole nice email. "Hey, we spoke on the phone. Here's the link to my reel and all the work I've done, etc." And I sent it over to this email, and I got like an automatic response back saying like, "Oh, we don't accept unsolicited material." And I wasn't like totally offended, because like I know we spoke on the phone, I know it's cool, like we're good, but I knew I heard this shit before. And it was when I was sending out my single "You OK" to different media outlets. My reasoning for that was for, different reasons than to get signed, but I've seen this so many times before, and I've seen and I've heard, "Oh, we don't accept unsolicited material," so many times, which just really frustrated me in a way. And maybe I shouldn't be as frustrated, but I am. And I'm frustrated because that's your fucking job as a label that has, okay, all these powerhouse artists, fine, but how did you get there? You listened to material, and maybe it was suggested by your buddy, but you listened to people's material. And I understand, as a big label, A&R, whatever it may be, you get probably a bajillion submissions from independent artists and all these people that probably are whack, or some of them may have really good stuff, but no one gets a fucking chance because you don't listen to that shit. And that really frustrates me. There's a guy, I after doing this, before recording this episode, throughout the week, I was kind of looking this up. I'm like, okay, then how do you get around it? What do you do if you don't have solicited material to get on any kind of label? And keep in mind, too, what's really frustrating is that it's not just the big name players. There are these fucking little labels that send the same thing back. And specifically, for Sony, I was looking through all these YouTube videos because I wanted to see exactly what these big name players, because everyone loves to have these big name record label big shots on their podcast, on their show, whatever it may be. And literally, if you type into YouTube, how do you make it in the music industry, or how to get signed by a label, all these interviews come up. And they all say the same fucking thing. But one really stuck out to me. There's this cat, Nick Gatfield. I think that's how you say it. Nick Gatfield for Sony. And literally maybe within the first 5 minutes, this dude says, "Oh, you can't come to Sony without having a social media following, a this, a that, a this, a that." And I understand that. He was really describing you have to have everything ready to go. And if you just type this into Google, you'll see the interview, or YouTube, wherever you go. But he's describing that you already have to have all your shit together. And, when I was growing up, people were getting signed that had like these little demos from, the garage in their house, but they had an amazing talent that people could see through. And I think that the music world has just become so diluted, personally. Call me cynical. Maybe it's just the coronavirus and all of the pandemic around that's just clouding my brain. But this guy literally even said they signed One Direction in the beginning of their career. And this guy literally even said, they appeal to the younger generation. They appeal to the 13 to 16-year-old kind of people, and there was no way that we could do that with radio, so we had to get them on TV. So What do we, the peasants, do that cannot get on TV at the current moment, especially during a pandemic? I'd love to be on TV. If anyone's listening, I'm on TV, put me on. So what do? I was very lucky. I have an amazing indie label behind me, Pacific Records. They are amazingly supportive in me, and they haven't tried to change any of my creative direction. But a lot of label stuff, man, it's all about the connections, the PR, and the money, right? So what do? My opinion is, at least in the beginning, it's not about money at all. Like, look at Chance the Rapper, right? Chance the Rapper just finally put out his like debut album that was backed by a label. This dude made it from, the beginning all the way till now, and he's killing it. So what do? Well, yes, it is very important with those connections and the monetary factors. Of course, especially now, it's really challenging monetarily because it's really hard as an artist right now. You can't go out perform live. How are you making money? What do you like? I'm putting singles out, but they're going out on the streaming platforms, and no one needs to buy a CD right now. You're getting streams for 10 cents of a penny. So what the heck do? Well, in my opinion, if you can record new stuff professionally, do it and put it out. I think that's great. I think that's amazing. And I think that's what you can be doing. Keep working on an album in the times where we have time to write albums. In the meantime, and you'll hear this a lot, but go hard, very hard on social media. And shit that you won't hear a lot, you'll hear all these big people and all these famous musicians saying, oh yeah, go hard on social media. But what they won't tell you is the amount of people that you have to outwork. Because you have to outwork so many freaking people, millions of people. What are you doing different than so many people? And I think it's a quality content game, but also a quantity content game. Don't be afraid, like me, don't be afraid to do a podcast and just speak your mind and say what you want to talk about. Like this podcast today, I was very nervous to talk about this because it's also a controversial subject, and like I don't know, it's challenging to talk about, but go for it. You might as well just go for it. Put out some content, speak your mind, let people know who the heck you are, and be aware that you're outworking people. You have to outwork some people, or you're not gonna get there. I think, of course, you have to have a good product. You have to have good music if it's music. You have to have great acting skills if it's acting. You have to be a freaking poet if you're doing some spoken word. You need to have a good product that connects with people. And you need to connect with people with your music, with whatever product you have, and on a personal level. There's absolutely no way someone's going to listen to your music if they think you're a dick. So that's really important. And that's kind of hard. It's kind of easier said than done to be able to pull those walls down and just be authentic with who you're talking to on any kind of platform. And I think we've spoken about it in other podcasts, but for me, I love doing this podcast and doing videos for Instagram and Facebook. But you might not be comfortable doing this or recording yourself on a video, so do a blog post. Do little updates, little blurbs, whatever you're comfortable doing. If you're not comfortable in front of the camera, get behind the mic. If you're not comfortable behind the mic, let's write something down. Just make it work for you. And there's no right or wrong way. Just get your voice out there, get your voice heard, and stay active too. That is a huge thing. I've been trying to do it with this podcast, with doing some cover videos on YouTube and on social media. I also just love doing that. So if you're going to stay active, make sure you're actively doing something you love. Don't make it a chore. I love doing this podcast. If it reaches 1,005 people, or if it just reaches 5. So that doesn't matter. Which brings me to the next point. Don't rely on the likes or the comments or anything like that. I know it's important to get engagement, and that's what we all want. But as long as you're getting your voice heard and putting your authentic self out there, don't rely on just how many followers do I have or how many likes. That shit will come after you continually put out the good and quality content. And never, never, never knock anyone that wants to give you an opportunity, whether it's a review, a feature, a spotlight. This last week, I got an opportunity. I got a call from a local newspaper / venue thing, and they wanted to feature me on one of their posts, on one of their blogs. And I mean, my reach is far greater than theirs, but they wanted to feature me. And hell yeah, I did it. And hell yeah, I gave the time, and I gave the best interview I could give, and I didn't brush it off, because every single piece matters and every single person matters. Which leads me into my next discussion. I feel like I'm just rolling the ball here onto other things, and I'll give a positive moment here. But never, ever put eggs in one basket, and never assume that if you do something nice for someone that you're going to get something in return. I think that's kind of like a worldly advice. Never do something and assume you're going to get it back. So the reason I say this is because I've had the opportunity to work with very, very big artists in my career. And I always had this back of my mind thought of, oh, well, maybe one day they're going to put me on. And, it doesn't always work out that way. And it's not to say every artist or big artist is like that. But moral of the story here is, you're going to work really, really, really hard. Never expect anything in return. Only rely on your talent and your talents alone. That's also kind of why I started doing this podcast, aside from wanting to get my personal views out there and who I am and connect with my audience so you can know a little bit more about me. I never wanted to rely on anyone else for my success. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't bounce ideas off of people that I trust, and that I go to other people to help me with areas in which I'm lacking, because no one's perfect. No one can get everything right. I'm not a master guitar player or a master at Logic. I'm just pretty good at it, and I learn from other people. But I never, ever want to rely my productivity or my success on other people doing things for me. I always just want to be in control of my destiny. And, when I do a record, it's heavily reliant on the team. We all work together. We all try to make this great product, and I'm very, very grateful. And for that, I definitely rely on other people. But I wanted an aspect of my life that I knew I can control, and it's only successful when I put the work into it. And so that's what's with this podcast, and of course the social media and all of those things, and all of the cover posts, which I've been doing because we're in quarantine, completely solo. I'm learning a lot. I'm asking questions, and you never, 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 never stop learning how to get better. You're never the best in the room. There's always ways to get better. And now we're just going to take a second and talk about Anchor. Hey guys, quick word from our sponsor. If you haven't heard of Anchor, well, now's your chance. It's completely free. It's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit any podcast right from your phone or your computer. It's where I do all of my podcasting. Anchor distributes your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, many, many more outlets. I think it's like over 8 to 10. It's crazy. You can make money from your podcast, no minimum listenership. So you don't have to have like 10,000 followers to have your shot. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thanks, guys. I wanted to pick up sort of like a final thought on this idea of always staying active And you could do it on your social media. You can do it on your website, just in life, always staying active. And that's one reason and one very attainable goal to achieve success. And that's just consistently putting out new things. Now, it doesn't have to be a new single every month or every week or a new blog post or a new podcast if that's not what you're into, but always be doing something. Like for me, I'm always working on, at least these days, the films, the TV shows that I'm working on, whatever that may be. I'm putting out a podcast on my social media. I'm doing covers. I'm staying active. I'm replying to every comment. I'm recording new singles and brand new work because I'm fortunate enough to be able to have the personnel, the funds, and things like that to keep putting out new music at a professional level. But you don't have to do that. You can stay active by a weekly post on social media. You can stay active by updating your website. You can stay active by doing your favorite song and doing a cover of it, or take your favorite artist and do one of their songs, or just a monthly post of just, hey, what are you up to? Because the moment that you get someone interested, the moment that you do a Sam Smith cover song and Sam Smith sees it and reposts it and people start going to your social media or your website, that's the time that you have to capitalize on that shit. And if you are not active and if you don't have something going on, no one's going to want to stay there. No one's going to want to follow. No one's going to want to come back. If you don't have something reoccurring going on, then all that work, that one really good post you did that got reposted or, retweeted, whatever it may be, by that big artist, is like all for naught. And you've worked so hard to get to this point. Don't throw it away. Don't give it all away because you're not active. You're not currently active. And now's the time. Even if, you have a lot going on, social media, YouTube is like the new TV. And that's where everyone is tuning in now. That's where the millennials are tuning in and all the generations to follow. Even my parents are on Facebook a bunch. That is so important, just staying active. And of course, you want to sound good in whatever you're doing. So don't just put out anything. But do your best to be consistent, because consistency will keep people coming back to see what's next, what's going on next. If they're interested in you, they're going to want to see more. So stay consistent. And I don't mean to be negative today. There's one topic of the big boys, the big labels saying I'm on my high horse because I don't just listen to anybody. I'm this big person. Like, that's really frustrating. And I understand all of the submissions they get, and I'm sure it's crazy. But at the end of the day, everyone matters. And that's kind of what I want to end on. If you're getting some traction with social media, or someone takes the time to comment on your social media or on your video, or subscribe to your email list, or visit your website, take the time to say thank you, and take the time to really appreciate that person. Reply back. Don't just put a fucking thumbs up or put a heart. Reply back. You're never too busy. No one is ever too busy. Get back to that email if someone says, I really like your stuff, or anything. Just reply back. Just like a simple thank you, I really appreciate it, goes a really long way. Acknowledging the people that have taken time to write back to you, because all the time that you've sent your shit out and no one's responded back, how bad does that feel? Take the time, if someone gives you a compliment, to just say thank you. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. I hope everyone's staying safe, and I will talk to everybody really, really, really soon. And if you haven't done already, go out and vote. It's important. Later, guys.